would say that would
Hello,
go.
Culture Matters podcast. We are here. We're just starting. We're getting going. I'm here with two of my closest friends. We're gonna look back on this in 50 years and say, "Wow, what the hell were we doing?" We're back with 30 Days of Thought with the one and only Paul Lucido and Andrew Berman. There's so much to say about these two. If you haven't heard about them on the Culture Matters podcast, you either clearly aren't listening because your earbuds fell in a pool and they're not working, or you haven't been introduced to the show, or self reflection, growth, learning with friends isn't something that resonates yet. But please tune in, go listen to Paul Lucido and Andrew Berman on the Culture Runners podcast, and you'll fall in love with them like I have over the years. They've been great supporters to the show. I have a quote before we introduce this podcast, and here it is: "A man of knowledge must not only be able to love his enemies, but hate his friends." Friedrich Nietzsche. We're reading Approachable today, and I was just saying before I record that the both of you have been supporters of me since before I was approachable. And I want to say, I don't even think I'm approachable yet. So I'm working on that myself. I just practiced by getting in front of the crowd 48 hours ago and trying to do the best I could to not make it all about me. And so we're reading Approachable today. It's 30 Days of Thought. It's about reading to think, writing to develop, listening to hear what is unsaid. It's basically a long-winded journal of me projecting constantly, and the goal is to help other people grow. And Berman and Lucido say that they like the book. So thanks, because you're in a small group of people that it looks like do. Yes,
Hmm.
Jordan B. Peterson did say he liked the book. So I will say that as well, because I did show him the book, and he was impressed. And he agreed with me that I should edit it again and maybe even so I should say that, right? Edify that is what we have. I showed it very proudly because he influenced the creation of this book quite a bit, massively, and I made sure to tell him that with the reading to the writing and the thinking. It's like, wow, that's a liberal arts education. So we have gotten an edification from the doctor himself that we're all, yeah. Oh, no, no, it's not that we're not crazy. We are, but we're doing something about it. Yes. That might be the longest intro to the Culture Matters podcast, but it matters because you got like culture matters, and this is our culture. You guys are a part of my culture. And the doctor himself, he said, because I was self-deprecating, I was like, it's not written very well, because I don't think it is, and still, and that's because and he's and he said, no, there's something here, like, that it's okay, that's pretty good. It's not terrible. So
Well, can I just before you get off that, like, the utility of it is there. So is it like, yeah, maybe someone could take a look at it from like the highest level of editing and maybe make some critiques. Sure, maybe, but the utility is one of the most powerful books that I've ever actually come across in my life. No, no, no. I'm going to correct that. Is the most powerful book I've ever come across in my life. Now there are books that have been influential to me, like 12 Rules, Jordan B. Peterson, 12 Rules, who, I found because of, like my work with you and my exposure to you and my friendship with you. Profound impact, but the utility of that book, of not just reading it, but writing it and recording, allowed me to come out of my shell, allowed us, Paul and myself, to actually, to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that led us to be, I think, more approachable, which was, and if you're more approachable and you're approaching people and having conversations, I think that leads to being more assertive. And if you're going to be more
mm,
assertive, you are going to speak the truth more. You are not going to actually hold back, and you're going to tell people, whatever it is, you're not going to omit the truth, which is what culture is about speaking your mind and not holding it in, because that is a freaking lie. So like this, like to me, approachable is like this is what like the core of it is, and it's and it could be like what's interesting about it. So Jordan in when he did his monologue before you interviewed him, he talked about a game about just about participating in games, even if you're not winning, just putting forth the effort into the game. And back when I was doing financial services, like we would have a game of being approachable, about walking up to strangers and trying to sell them freaking life insurance. And we
Wow.
had a game about it. And even if you sucked and you failed, you still became better at it. And because of that, I think I'm a better person. I think I can walk up to people and have conversations and now actually enjoy it. And now actually I can speak, I can be more assertive. And now I'm more comfortable with my truth.
Wow. Um, you two have both been instrumental in my growth, so I want to thank you for that and your support and going through this. I've opened, it's been clear in the theme of this show that 30 Days of Thought is it's each of the readers' book when they go through it. And as the author of the original thoughts, not the thoughts, but the original thoughts, because there have been many people that got the book and did what you just said, Andrew, for their own thoughts to come into the world as the original or the first domino in that. And I guess the doctor is more of like the it's funny. Nietzsche said that it starts as a camel and then a lion and then the child. Something about faith. There's a childlikeness to faith or something. Um, the doctor is like the child setting up the dominoes. And then
Hmm.
if I'm the first domino, or maybe not, there's is it God that's a child? And then there's just the gravity of the first domino falling is the influence of the doctor in this case. I don't know. Maybe that could work as a metaphor, but the first domino, if 30 Days of Thought's the first domino, I'm looking back at writing the book, interacting with people that have read it over the years and spoken and watched their videos and put them out. And I'm saying, as the first writer, I'm looking back and saying, okay, what could I have done better? And I'm happy about the fidelity in of it in this sense. They're truly my thoughts without like almost without it was written in such a force of emotion. It was written in such so in the sense because there wasn't that extra overthinking or constant re-editing. There is a beauty to the authenticity of that first draft that I'm very proud of in reflection in this moment. That because if it was too perfect, in a sense, it would undermine the utility of it, where it really isn't and hasn't ever been my book. That was never the purpose of 30 Days of Thought. It was it was like it's just parchment. It might as well be blank in a sense because it's the reader's confrontation with their own thoughts. But because there is a first draft, imperfect. Hey, some of the thoughts, and I said this to the doctor, like, uh, no, actually, I didn't. I wanted to, and there were just so many other things to talk about. I was going to email, but no, I didn't. But it was some of the thoughts are they're so deep. There's some really good. There's some really important ideas I've been working on for a while. That because like I haven't flushed them out fully. There's a lot of beginning. Like we didn't even get to a lot of those. The heavier ones. The like O plus M equals B.
Yeah,
Like that. There's a whole.
we
I,
did that one. I think we
years
actually
ago,
did.
maybe.
Yeah, Andrew and I did.
But
Andrew and I
us,
did.
we haven't. Yeah, yeah. So I'll digress here because I want Paul, your exegesis on this. Like, I'm proud of the first draft
Yeah,
in that sense that it was me working through and then like let me hopefully the flaws and the imperfections and the those nuances make it comfortable for people that maybe, because I'm someone that didn't go the schooling route, that's trying to put myself together. Like there's
Right.
so many millions of people in that category that can
Yes.
uncover their genius, that they have something to offer. So I'm happy that this is the first book, and I'm excited as the author look back and say the next books that come out,
Yeah.
how we can, ladder it up and just keep increasing the so the
That'll be your evolution right there. So
Yeah.
what could I possibly layer on top of what both of you just said, other than just basically fortify the fact that 30 Days of Thought is raw and uncut. That's what makes it amazing. I love Andrew's analogy. It created a lot of utility for anybody that reads the book. If I just really distill it, and I've said this many times, the book is about, it's thought provoking. It allows you to start to think about, well, what exactly is this author trying to get across, which then provokes thought that's layered on that, right? And that thought becomes your 30 days of thought, if you will. So for me, look, I'll be very straight up. I am not a wallflower. When I read Approachable, it made me immediately, and I know I use him a lot in a lot of my podcasts and a lot of the dialogue that we have. My grandfather was the first person that came to mind when I read the word approachable, because he was the master of that. He was very approachable. Sometimes it used to embarrass me as a kid because I was at that age, maybe between the ages of 9 and 11, maybe 12. As I got older, I learned to appreciate it more. But when I was younger, he would talk to everybody on the street. If we were walking, I thought, oh no, here we go. It's going to happen. And boom, we were engaged. So he was kind of a renaissance man. I mean, this guy talked to everybody. But the beautiful thing about that, to the credit of your book, your words, is it opens up dialogue for communication and growth. If you are a wall, you put your wall up, well, nobody's ever going to get in, nor are you going to get out. And truthfully, you're never going to grow. Andrew said it. You got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Simple pleasantries, as I like to say, go a long way. Exercise those, and you'll be surprised the conversations that will ensue as a result. I mean, whether you're in an elevator, whether you're walking down the street, whether you're just passing somebody by, there's an opportunity always to engage with people. So for me, I've always practiced being engaging, but it's been a very natural thing. The book for me wasn't about bringing me out. The book for me was a reason that I could have discussions. It gave me a reason to create what we all have. The fact that it started with Andrew and I, and then now we're doing this together, is already an example of the evolution of what happened as a result of this book. And so for me, this book, it's more than just what's on paper. It's about the dynamic that it's created, the interest that it evoked, in terms of me now following you, Jay, and watching what you're doing. My connection with Andrew has even strengthened. Although Andrew and I have had a very strengthened relationship from in the first Magnus days. I've known Andrew since the first Magnus days, when we used to advertise in the mortgage press. That's how him and his father got to be friends of mine. But yeah, I could go on and on about it. And again, I will just kind of put a lid on this. The fact that the book is written so raw as it is what makes the book authentic. It's what makes the book interesting. It's what makes the book accessible. To me, that is very, very important. So having that sort of, hey, I'm not perfect, allows people to drop their guard and read the words and accept it and start to be introspective with themselves. Anyway, I don't want to
One of
go
the
on
things
and
that
on,
I
but I
think
think
that
you
I
get my point.
one of the things I think I do that can make it hard to be approachable though is I'm critical. I'm critical of myself. Some of the excerpts are written very well. However, they may be, they're not easy.
That's right.
There's a concept that is not necessarily, when I say easy, I'm thinking pop culture. Like how much of what it is that we think, where you haven't thought, we've just been given.
Hmm.
How much of what we think we haven't thought, we've just been given. Like there's the cliches that run on TV that we don't even hear that influence us. There's
Right.
the things that people say at work that we pick up and we use as heuristics of, like uh you bump into somebody at the water cooler and now you're an expert on cold calling because, well, you haven't done it in 7 years, but you just heard somebody talk about it on a TikTok or on the
Yeah.
television or a movie you saw, or think insert anything.
Yeah.
And so there are actual ideas that I am attempting to unpack here passionately. Some of the excerpts, because there's 90 different ones, and there's other writing that are written better than others, and others some are, and so, but I do want to say that because it is recorded. It's like my own insecurity and anxiety and self analysis. Um, I think can almost conflate in a negative the quality of the text. Yes, there are things that could be improved where like if someone's just confused because they haven't yet put the work in to try to understand the thought,
Right.
and the author's saying, "Yeah, it stinks," because I'm just being so I'm beating myself up because I generally do that. I have to work on that. That can make it not approachable because then it's like, oh, well, that's not even something worth reading if the author. Whereas if I was like, this is the best thing since tennis fell and had all this confidence around it, people would just be like, "Yeah, this is amazing. Every single page. Oh my God!" And they haven't even read it. Like the general
The comment.
mass, hasn't even read any of the thoughts, and they're like, "Yeah, oh my God, I have it. It's on my. I'm gonna read it tomorrow." But yeah, Jay's right. You guys have actually read through this thing for like years.
Well, I want to add to that. You bring up a really good point
I have low
because,
self-esteem.
well, but think of it like this. Look, when Andrew sent me this book, no different than Stephen A. Littlefield sent me the book on the business of gratitude with the thank you note. Andrew says to me, I've got something for you. I've got somebody I want you to meet. You're going to love this guy. I'm going to send you this book. It forced Andrew and I to be disciplined to engage in something. Part of what makes this enjoyable is the accountability part of it, piece of it. So, in other words, I read a chapter, you read a chapter, Andrew reads a chapter. In this case, we all read the same chapter, and now we dialogue about it. That's what makes this work. If we found a way to create application, if you will, we found a way to not just read it to ourselves, but to now talk about what we read and get other perspectives. I think that that's why this worked. And then what I've learned from it is we can do this technically with any book that we choose to do it with.
Well, we've already said we're going to branch out into different things.
And that's the growth. And that's the growth. And as far as what you wrote, the beautiful thing about what you wrote throughout the book, and I've read many of the passages, many of the analogies, um, is that there's something in it for everybody. Okay. You might relate more with one particular subject matter than you will with another. That is just human nature. But there will be something in that book that's going to connect to somebody's heartstrings. Maybe once, maybe twice, maybe throughout the entire book. For me, I've got a pretty good handle on the book now. I understand where it's coming from because I've gotten to know you. I've gotten to understand sort of the underpinning, if you will, the foundation beneath this book. And by the way, let's give some credit to your lovely wife who did go through the book a little bit and help you edit your notes a little bit, make it palatable for the reader. So I think
The
it is
grammar,
very well put
for
together.
sure.
I think it's a really well written book. And, for some people, it might be a little over their head, and I get why, but you need to take the time to learn it. That's
Yeah,
what you
that's
got
why
to
I
put
did
the
want to
work
say
into it.
that's why I did want to say what I said because if I've got some really wonderful I don't know if I have Pascal here, but you know, you might thoughts that there's a pen says thoughts is like it's aphoristic and it takes some work to understand what exactly is in there. And I don't want my own self judgment to dissuade people from attempting to access it. You did give me an idea though when you said this might just be a funny idea, but 30 days of thought, there could be an like I thought immediately of volume two, 30 days of action, where it's like, hey, here's how you apply this concept, and
Great idea.
saying, add more things on our plates here. But 30 days of action, like here's the how to. But however, the purpose of the book, just so for our listeners, is for what we're doing now. Well, really, what we're doing now is an outshoot of get the book, read to think. So I'm reading for myself, and I just redid it. Now I'm actually redoing it now for the Culture Matters podcast, and have been for some time. I'm rereading excerpts from years ago. I'm writing down my thoughts. I'm recording a podcast long form, which I wouldn't have done years ago because I would have been afraid to just do a video. And I'm putting it out on the internet, and I'm proud of who I am more so than then as a consequence of continuing to learn, unlearn, act out the things that we talk about. And as an offshoot of all of that, you guys separately had your own culture, your own relationship that made this book more approachable, maybe in a sense you could do together. And you did that together years ago. Then as I've grown, we've come together for this series on the Culture Matters podcast. We've done this 30 days of thought with friends. We've brought other people together. Like it is that process that's the value. And it's like if one doesn't if one does something for themselves that they value, and then they include other people to do whatever it is they value for themselves that gives them value, it's that mediation that develops the
Well
relationship.
said. Well said.
And
I
that
agree.
is about culture. That's the culture, the integration, the gather, the rituals, and then we have memories. The story, like for 20 minutes, us trying to figure out how to put your phone the right sides up. That's a memory we have together that's not on the recording. That's our memory for our relationship that influences future. So this is about gathering, it's about growth, it's about relationship, 30 days of thought. Andrew, I am curious because you mentioned the doctor's keynote on, and he talked about reputation, he talked about relationships, he talked about short term versus long term, looking at short term impulse, long term outcome gain. Are there any things that you saw this week from that keynote that come to mind, even just in this conversation or the excerpt approachable?
I mean, um, trying to think actually specifically about actually my so to me it was a lot of what I felt like I have a reinforced message of what I've heard from him previously. But like I mean, and I'm not to go back into like what I've already shared before, but like I want to dial in even a little more as far as like the impact and almost like the tandem of 12 rules. And I stopped 12 rules because in 12 rules it said, never lie. And I was lying. Like I mean, probably one of my biggest lies was I didn't really believe in myself.
Wow.
I had this appearance like I looked like I believed in myself, but I think I believed in the opportunity that was given to me by my father and riding his coattails, and I didn't actually think it was me myself that had it. And 30 days and doing actually the videos with Paul made me comfortable with my own thoughts and my own feelings, and made me actually so I could potentially be more just to relate it back to what we're talking about here today, approachable on just me and having conversations about what's inside my head, and not in your book, because they were your thoughts, your raw thoughts put out on paper, and I wouldn't, and it's interesting. There's not contradictions, and I know maybe contradictions don't exist, but it is very consistent. But it is your raw thoughts on paper, and it allowed me to be comfortable with whatever I felt about that. And actually it was, and after going through this and being through this process of being comfortable back on myself, I was able to accept who I am, and accept the power of who Andrew Berman is. And not to, like, it sounds egotistical to say that, but it gave me the realization that I am actually a powerful person in itself, deserve actually all the things that I've done, and all the future gifts that are there for me, which allowed me to go back to continue 12 rules, go to and continue actually like really absorbing the doctor's work, and really accepting the gifts that he shared, and that was presented to me. And so it's, and almost like the presentation, his monologue, and your conversation with him, I mean, there were certain things that I felt were kind of nuances that maybe were not presented to me before, but it's all just reinforced what was shared previously.
I need your guys' advice because of, yeah. Like, because I need to differentiate between what is actually useful, value creating versus my own insecurity or over compensating or something. Is 30 days of thought in its current form, if I were to propose, hey, 30 days of thought, it could be a valuable component of, because there's the past authoring program, the present authoring program, and the future authoring program that Dr. Jordan B. Peterson and his partners created to help students. And of course, it's manifest students in colleges, but it manifested into the large following that he has to actually work on their stuff. That's a deliverable that those that invest the time and the money, the energy into 12 Rules for Life, Beyond Orders, even those in maps and his literature before the college existed, would end up going into those programs, because that's just more that one could do to self-develop. 30 days of thought, I think, does fit into it complements the past authoring, the present authoring, the future authoring. Those are, in-depth question answer exercises, programs for people. 30 days, I think, complements 12 Rules for Life, complements Beyond Order, like the concept of doing it. Do I, try to rewrite it and present it, or even in its current form, could it be valuable for that process? Because I'm trying to, am I over, you know what I'm saying? Because I think so that would be my question to you, because I could look at it either way. I could say, I'm going to try to to write it again, or edit it, or do I, or in its own form today? Is that something you think I should present and try to, obviously any sale is getting feedback from the customer, whether it's a partner.
Are you trying to okay, I need to make sure I'm keeping up here. I'll say one thing. Your book is going to always be relevant because of the way the thoughts are laid out. It's like, this book is not like, oh, you read it and we've moved on and times have changed. I think what's great about 30 Days of Thought is it'll be relevant for a long, long time. Number one, that's number one. Number two, I have not read Dr. Jordan Peterson's 12, is it called 12-step program? Almost sounds like the 12-step program. But
Balls, I didn't know this about you. This will be the last time we speak.
So I have not read that. I've listened to Jordan Peterson speak for many years, just in the great debates that I've listened to him. So that's how I know who he is. And everybody in my circle that is into philosophy, religion, and sciences, and physics knows who Jordan Peterson is. So let's just say that. Now, as far as your book goes, could you take that book and model it, is what you're really saying? after what Jordan did, put something together like he did? I'm sure you
No, I'm
could.
not saying that. I'm saying I want to present it with his. Like, so if somebody buys 30, like if somebody buys 30 Days of Thought, it would be foolish. I'm sorry, 12 Rules for Life. It'd be foolish for them not to pursue 30 Days of Thought.
Mm,
That the
mm, mm.
actual ritual of reading to think, writing to develop, speaking to
Yes.
let go, and alone and with friends.
Right.
And because you've never read 12 Rules for Life, it would make then it's harder to have the conversation. So I apologize. This is just coming to me, but the book complement. I think that the process of 30 Days of Thought
Yes.
actually can lead to one instantiating the concepts presented in 12 Rules for Life in their
Understood.
actual behavior. Stand up straight with your shoulders back.
Right.
Treat yourself like someone you're responsible for helping. The reason that came to mind was Andrew just said he started standing up straight with his shoulders back without saying it. He started treating himself like somebody who's responsible for helping. He made friends with people that wanted the best for him. That's rule 3. Make friends with those that want the best for you. That's happened from this process.
That's
Rule
good. That's
4, compare
amazing.
yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. He's explained that a million times when he's come on and we've talked about his thoughts from 30 Days of Thought.
Yeah, be the better version of
Rule.
yourself. Absolutely. You should always shoot for that.
The purpose of 30 Days is to uncover the genius of the individual that's going through it. Rule 6 is put your house in perfect order before you
Mhm.
criticize the world. Rule 7 is pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. Rule 8 is tell the truth or at least don't lie. Rule 9 is assume the person you are listening to knows something you do not.
Uh-huh.
Rule 10
Interesting.
is be precise in your speech. Now that means we're disqualified.
Hey, we're all gonna, meander in that realm. But I'll tell you, just based on what you just said, I already can tell you that these 12 steps are very much in alignment with other readings that I've done and belief systems that I personally adopt. I read a great book called The Magic of Tidying Up, which is about tidying up your life. And it starts with cleaning your house, getting things in order, purging. We talked about this. It's interesting, in all these podcasts, there are things that if I go back and listen to that you say, Jay, that we all say, Andrew, that we keep circling back to. I also want to deviate, if I can, digress to something Andrew said earlier, which is really important. When you said that you and I both were doing the podcast and how it was helping you, part of that is we are both technically approachable guys. I'm an approachable guy. So I do my best not to make it uncomfortable for somebody that I'm engaged with. I always make it a point to engage with people, be a good listener. That's why I loved read to think, write to develop, listen to what is unsaid, and speak to let go. I'll always remember that now. You can't beat that with a stick. That is those are 4 really powerful principles. And if you practice those, you will grow, you know. This is all about the pursuit of education, the pursuit of knowledge, the pursuit of growing into the better version of yourself. And to do that, you have to let go of certain stigmas. You got to unshackle yourself from being stubborn in your ways. That's hard for people to do. So what Jay's book does is it opens that up. It allows you to start to contemplate things that you may not have even thought about. So that evokes emotion, that evokes thought. I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward when you think about it. Look at what's happened to Jay. He wrote this book. He started to follow Jordan Peterson, and now he's preaching the gospel of this 12 steps for life or whatever. Okay, so there you go. There's your evolution right there. There's your growth. It's so evident in my mind. It just seems
Wow, that's such a powerful. You're saying so as the reader turned writer, thinker, listener, speaker, observing back that the original domino, myself, author, as an observer, to me, you're seeing me mature or evolve,
yes.
molt, as Jimmy DeLay would put it,
Yeah, molt. Exactly. It's a
molt
good word.
through the process. I might not even fully even grasp how I have. I don't think even grasp how much I have even evolved from my own damn process. Because all these years later, I'm doing lectures on rules or chapters of other people's books on the Culture Matters podcast.
That's great.
Where
That,
because that has just manifest. I'm working on that right now with McGilchrist stuff because he's
mhm.
coming on the show in June.
Look at how thick those books are.
It's freaking unbelievable. I'm
It's an
gonna throw
almanac.
up. Yeah, he's unbelievable. Um, and you're right. No, that I actually didn't. Yes, that is what's happened. Is we everyone listening to the Culture Matters podcast, episodes 904 to 918 on the Culture Matters podcast are the intro to Beyond Order, which is this 12 more rules for life, and the outro, like 12 rules, all 12 chapters, and the outro. So it's about 10 hours of my interpretation as a culture advisor of the 12 more rules for life, Beyond Order, which took a couple months to do because like in spare time, I wrote notes, I thought about it, and I taught the lectures. I would have never done that without 30 days of thought. Going through it 3, 4 times over the last 6 years,
Mm.
maybe more than 3 or 4
Wow.
times. I'm the author, but I'm really just the student too. And I'm going through it and maturing from this concept of
You're learning from yourself, literally. I mean, literally, you're learning through your own thoughts, through your own words, and that's the beautiful thing about this process.
but you
There was
guys
a
are like what's the what if we're all racing go-karts and we're hitting the bumpers?
yeah,
You know, like if I'm a bumper for you, Paul, Berman is a bumper. You
gotcha.
have the go-kart. You're a bumper for me. He's a bumper for me. You know, he's
That's
a
a great. That's a
we're
that's a
bump,
that's a
we're
that's a
bumpers
good
for each other.
analogy.
We're each in our own go-kart.
Yeah,
This
or
process helps me.
actually, or full size cars now, like drafting. You know, like I'm
Yeah.
going behind you, you going
Back to
behind
the
me.
exactly.
You know, little
Back to the
I
shake and
love that.
bake.
Yeah, this is another element to that. This is a
Yeah.
different. This is different than me doing it on my own. If I talk to myself, or this is a different it's a different medium, so the context is different, which leads to different responses and a relatedness, relationship that I'm
Totally.
having myself.
Yeah.
So
It's a good.
let me
Yeah.
ask you this: do you is there so we take something like Approachable, like is there a self improvement that you are hoping people will have when they go through the Approachable section, or well, let me for you, like besides actually the utility of being able to kind of read to think, but is there like the hope that you will become more approachable? So have you become more approachable? So if we look at Jay Doran from this is 2018 when you wrote this.
Let's see. That's a good question. Let me look at when it was
The
published.
end of because it came out in 2019.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
2019.
is Jay Duran of 2018 less approachable than Jay Duran of 2025?
Is it Tuesday or is it Thursday? That's what. So like maybe we should get in the excerpt with the last 600 seconds that we have here. We get real with ourselves and each other, and we find truths we never deemed possible. We find a certain truth. I'm reading like halfway down. I'm not even reading the top. I should have read the opening sentence here. That was something I had highlighted. The opening sentence is talk. Don't be afraid to speak to a stranger because everyone has a story to be heard. I modeled that from a mentor figure early on in my adolescence, and then I lost it. It slipped,
Interesting.
it slipped away from me, and
Why
I'm
do you think?
gaining it. It's like if you're outside and you have a string and you're a little kid, you have that what is that, a kite?
Yeah.
My kite rope snapped.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I yeah, it's and I I think I just found my kite the other day in Taiwan from Jersey, and I picked it up. So I have it. I found it. I found my kite, and I'm unsure if I want to put it back up in the air or not. And so I'm still processing that right now with you guys live. But I even have string. You know, I have the reason I didn't. That was my only kite, my only string, and I didn't even have any friends. Today I have so much string and all these people that want to fly kites with me. We could have like a kite party. I didn't have
And
a
a
kite for
really
a
nice kite.
while.
You have a really nice kite.
I
Like
have a
back
nice
then,
heck.
your kite was one of those plastic kites that you get in the drugstore. Now you got one of these fancy vinyl ones that's got multiple chambers and
And all
two
these people
strings.
for the last 3, 4 years, people have been coming over my house and banging at night. Hey, you want to go fly the kite? And I've like been acting like I'm asleep when I'm in my office with the light on, working on something. That's my immediate answer to the question. Is like, no. If anything, no. Let's edit this whole thing. 30 days of thought. It didn't work at all. It went completely the other way. It destroyed my life and it ruined every relationship. And as Munger would say, invert, always invert. I've digressed complete. Nobody knows what I do, who I am, what's going on, but I have all this
Oh.
string and this great kite. I have like 7 kites in my office, unflown.
That's funny about the
Everything's
kite.
changed. I'm now all of a sudden I'm successful, and
That's funny.
nobody knows who I am, what I do, where I'm at. I'm like the Wizard of Oz. Whereas when I was, a pauper, sweating constantly, negative net worth, trying to be somebody. My kite, my pants were off. I was at a nudist beach in my kite.
It's
And
funny.
then all of a sudden it flew away and I couldn't, and then I put up, many layers
That's
of
funny.
clothing on and forgot who I was. So it's like, no, you'd think I'd be more of everything. And now I have more and am more and I'm nothing. So I just never cease to confuse myself and other people. I would say that complicated is what Norman likes to say. Jay, you're complex. So
That's an interesting analogy. My dad used the kite analogy differently. If he was upset or I pissed him off or somebody pissed him off, the first words out of his mouth was "Go fly a kite."
wow, that's awesome.
Little
That is
different spin. Little
that is
different spin.
awesome.
But you said something. I know we're at the end here. You brought up mentors again, and I it was on my brain as we were dialoguing there. That mentorship is all part of that growth. It goes back to the same thing. You got something. There's so much when you reflect back to the evolution of your growth, to who you've grown to become. We've had these discussions before. So many good books out there. There's a book I read years ago, I think I brought it up before, called The Platinum Rule. And I forget who the author is, it escapes me at the moment. But the golden rule is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. We all know that. Basically, treat people the way you want to be treated. Whereas the platinum rule says get to know somebody first and treat them the way they want to be treated. Don't assume the way you want to be treated is the way they want to be treated. And I thought that was an interesting spin. So that's always stuck with me. Not to assume that everybody thinks exactly the same way that you do or has the same exact interests. But through dialogue, through conversation, through being approachable, that opens that door up to learn and find out who those people are. So I think this is a beautiful topic. It is something that, we don't want to lose this. We don't want to lose the idea of being approachable.
So if you don't mind, I just want to add something. Like you talk about mentors, so one of my early mentors from afar. So in college, one class that I really resonated with is the principle of sales. There's no shocker there. And my professor, he actually paid for my ticket to go see like a bunch of motivational speakers, and one of those guys was Zig Ziglar. And Zig, from that time has always been like someone who's been a mentor from afar, from his books, his audio tapes at the time. But one of the things that and I always remember this, is timid people. I wrote this down even to make sure I remember this. Timid people have skinny kids. And it's like, listen, everything is in sales, but whether you're actually in sales, or you're trying to make sure your voice is heard, whether you're whatever you're doing in life, and missing out on the opportunity to talk to strangers, you're missing out on getting to know people, getting to actually really learn about the world, learn about things that are not inside your world. And that's just something that I feel has always been something that I have embraced more and more as time have gone on. And yeah, like much like your grandfather, like my kids sometimes hate going out with me, because like they know I'm going to have conversations with anyone and everyone.
Interesting.
Dr. Jordan B. Peterson asked me why I stopped speaking backstage.
Mm.
And I said it was too much chaos. Yeah, I couldn't handle it. My conscience like was too loud. Because when somebody grabs your ass after you do a speech because you are the fucking best speaker that they've ever seen in your life, and you don't have a conscience, you take them out back and you do things the devil whispers in your ear, as ever when man copulates, the devil laughs, Arthur Schopenhauer. And as a man in his young adolescence that's insecure
Yeah.
and ego driven, I actually did not do that. I just want everyone to know I've done plenty of other embarrassing things. Plenty of other embarrassing things. That's a memory that sticks with me, is that too much chaos, the fear of the worst of who I am that absolutely exists scared me. And a lot of that has to do with the suffering that I've undergone from when I have so much guilt and regret and shame. And so I stopped doing the thing that I love, that not just love, like truly my calling, a gift that I have to share the word. I stopped, and for too long, I think I took it too far, and it's had diminishing returns for me. But I did need to learn how to listen. I did need, because I remember when I first wrote the book, it was read to think, write to develop, speak to let go. Brad says it all the time: read, write, speak, read, write, speak. Because when we met, I didn't listen. That's one of the things that led us to so many damn arguments. From love, obviously, because we're both so disagreeable and so extroverted. That created tension in our friendship, in our working relationship, in the care that we have for one another, on every level, right? And I could exemplify that in extrapolate or fractal that out in family relationships, friend relationships, and so on. The closest relationships, and that, like Peterson taught us in the keynote, that affects our ability to play with others, and how social we can be, and and then it goes back to uh,
Right.
how we view ourselves and where we compensate. And so he asked me, yeah, why did you stop speaking? And that was the answer, and that is and has been the answer. However, in my own extremeness, it doesn't mean I never say anything ever again. For those that have listened to the Culture Runners
Right.
podcast religiously, and many have, they've listened to me just listening for hundreds and hundreds of hours, to the point where
Mm.
I'm driving. I began to drive myself insane. Uh, I think at some degree. So that being said, I have a quote to finish this out that I hope is helpful for somebody. Yeah, if anybody's listening to this that really feels, lost or uneasy or unsure, call a friend, reach out because I'm sure, we'll attract that. These are human conversations we're having. Call a friend, call a loved one, reach out. It's never shame in getting help. Don't wait your whole lifetime like me to do so. Don't become a motivational speaker because you drink too much coffee and are lonely and have too many issues. Like Matt Foley in the basement of Saturday Night Live. Don't just do that. That won't be the solution, friends that are listening. Here's a quote that I love. The very fact that a general problem has gripped and assimilated the whole of a person is a guarantee that the speaker has really experienced it and perhaps gained something from his sufferings. He will then reflect for us. He will then reflect for us. He will then huh. He will then reflect that back for us in his personal life and thereby show us a truth. He will then reflect that problem back to us in his personal life and thereby show us a truth. He will then reflect that. Culture matters. Right? Culture matters. Thank you guys, and we will see you all next time on the Culture Matters podcast.
Thank you, brother. Good to see
Thank
you
you.
both.